of a state. And because they own the structure of this state, they feel that it is their prerogative to determine what happens in the affairs of that state. What does this show us? This shows us that in, as Dr. Abati said, evolving democracy such as ours, power is not transferred. In an established and vibrant democracy, when a new leader comes into office who has been given a mandate through election, that person is supposed to experience a transfer of power. In this instance, however, we see that the ownership of structures is not transferred to anybody. Whoever acquired those structures, appropriated them, or built them is the individual who remains with the ownership of them. How are these structures built? Through identity politics. Oh, that's my man from my place. We are from the same place. The other way, through binding transactions. What point am I getting to here? I'm getting to the point that all of this is because there are individuals who say they own the structures of the party, and that is where the source of their power lies. How do they own them? We don't know. There are several allegations and several speculations about how the ownership of these structures is acquired, whether it be through purchasing nomination forms for people at elections, whether it be through financing people's campaigns, whether it be through various other projects and exploits that benefit these individuals financially or otherwise. This is how this loyalty is bought. It's a deep and complex patronage system. Now, what needs to be done? Because my argument is that what we see in River State can easily be replicated in any other state. For as long as our nomination forms are at sky-high prices and people need sponsors to come together, or people need benefactors who will come and see them through and become their political godfathers, this is not unique to Nigeria. All around the world, people have sponsors and benefactors and donors who come to their aid financially when it's time for elections. However, the one thing that is missing is the public disclosure. Let there be transparency. Let's know that if there's a State House of Assembly, for example, this is the person who bought their nomination form. Let it be a matter of public record so that the public can also be aware of some political indebtedness that may exist when they're going to elections to vote for their candidates. In all of this, it's unfortunate that the people of River State will experience yet another disruption. Will another presidential intervention come and save the day, as happened in December 2023 and happened in March 2025? We wait to see what that intervention will look like. However, it's clear that the APC has faced its first legitimacy crisis in River State, in that we now wait to see whether, when APC was laughing at other parties about lacking internal party discipline, whether the APC's own internal party discipline will be able to sit down with members who are exhibiting anti-party activities by trying to bring down their own governor from their own party. Now, let's go to ADC as we talk about internal party democracy. Reconstituting their constitution and so forth, very important development, especially because I go back again to the issue of legitimacy. 2027 will largely be decided by legitimacy. If ADC can separate themselves from an APC who, on a national scale as a ruling party, is fighting for legitimacy as people are complaining about a decade of economic decline. PDP has its own wranglings that have caused it to lose legitimacy in the face of the public. If ADC can have a transparent process that reflects the people's will, possibly that legitimacy may make them a more preferable platform. I close with the NGX, and 100 trillion naira is a massive milestone. However, let's not forget the fact that this all happened before we stepped into the era of the tax laws. The tax laws have the introduction of the capital gains tax, which moves from 10% to 30% for anything above 150 million naira. KPMG yesterday released a report, says Nigeria's new tax law, inherent errors, inconsistencies, gaps, and omissions. I urge you all to go and look out for that. Unfortunately, I don't have time to get into it. But the point I am making is that as we celebrate the resilience of the Nigerian Stock Exchange against all odds, let's also be careful about policies that can erode from those victories that we've made, such as the 30% capital gains tax that many institutional investors have queried and are concerned about. Well, it's now time for a short break here on The Morning Show. When we return, we'll have Adefemi Akinsonya join us for the World Brief and to review top stories in today's newspapers. Do stay with us.
struggling with a health challenge? Do you need financial help to access treatment?
I'm tired of trying. I need help. I want to try IVF. I know it's expensive.
Apply now for MHSS, the Maternal Health Service Support, a discounted loan by the W Initiative of Access Bank. For more information, visit our website on www.thewcommunity.com or any Access Bank branch nationwide. You can also send an email to wcares@accessbankplc.com. Terms and conditions apply.
My smally.
Gen Z mama we carry better swag.
You dey why? You be like say plenty credit don't overload for that your size.
Credit now water. You say no now.
Glow Talk Master. My little lioness.
Where they retire senior lions.
I dey make one better dress where you go wear for these holidays.
When I land them, I go finish you with plenty kissing.
Who you dey kiss, they finish on my credit? Who be this?
Mr. Man.
Ah, Mama.
Why they disturb us now?
You almost give me heart attack. Oh.
Feel like say you never hear about Glow Talk Master.
We get free data. Let's video call her.
Ah.
Hi, girl.
Free on Glow Talk Master. Talk for 6 minutes and get 6 minutes free. Plus 15 megabytes of data free. Simply dial *606#. 2,000 naira for new customers. 1,000 naira for voice. 1,000 naira for data.
Solar energy has improved the lives of Nigerians in the sense that we can have a cleaner environment and thereby preserving the earth for future generations. Our mission is to ensure we develop and deliver locally acceptable, contemporary, and innovative solutions in partnership with global organizations to ensure that we become the first and the trusted choice for Nigerians. So the option of having a solar solution at just 30% equity already ensures that you have money back in your pocket, because then you can then pay on a monthly basis over a period of time, which, if you compare with the fact that you're also paying grid, is actually more affordable over a period of time. Then you can have your access to power under your control at every point in time for up to 10 years.
Every business creates data. Sales, payments, movements. Sparkle turns activity into information you can understand. And insights you can act on. Sparkle doesn't just show you what happened, it helps you decide what to do next.
The 9th All-African Music Awards, AFRIMA, in partnership with the African Union Commission and the Lagos State Government. The biggest music stage, the stars are celebrated in Goho with 23.9-carat gold-plated AFRIMA trophy to be hosted by Vals, the bad guy. Live broadcast of Red Carpet starts at 3:30 p.m. AFRIMA Awards live broadcast starts at 7 p.m. on Sunday, January 11, 2026 at the Eco Convention Center, Eco Hotel and Suites, Lagos, Nigeria. For tickets, invitations, seat reservations, visit afrima.org. 9th AFRIMA Awards, the unstoppable.
Hello, everyone. I'm here with the woman that makes all the things happen in Fidelity Bank, the MD of Fidelity Bank,
FNITCC was conceptualized in 2022, and the whole idea was to create a platform where our exporters, lead with the global community, are able to showcase their products. What we do in the banking industry is to always try to meet the needs of our customers, and we could see that the exporters were struggling with, they didn't have a global stage on which to showcase their goods. We did so much initially in terms of capacity building. After that, the products were made, were put in proper quality, packaging and all of that. So the next step naturally is to take it to the global stage, especially if you focus on making world-class products.
Like they say, build it and they will come.
Yes, they will. Yeah, don't worry about it. Build it and they will come.
All right, ma'am.
We are Fidelity. We keep our word.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Joining us now for War Brief and the review of some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Adefemi Akinsanya. Good morning, Adefemi.
Good morning, Dr. Rubin. Good morning, Vimbai. And welcome back, Rufai. How are you doing?
Good morning, Femi.
That's me.
Femi.
That's
Take
me.
your tennis seriously.
I'm taking it seriously. Rufai is my de facto tennis coach. So, I've missed a few practices, but don't worry, I'm back soon. Good morning to you, viewers. Let me tell you what's happening around the world. Now, US President Donald Trump has warned there could be more American strikes here in Nigeria if Christians are still being killed. Now, Trump made these comments in an interview with the New York Times when he was asked about his administration's Christmas Day military strike in Sokoto. Now, the US military said at the time it carried out a strike against Islamic State militants in northwest Nigeria at the request of Nigeria's government. And we know here in Nigeria, the official line was that the strike was a joint operation targeting terrorists and had nothing to do with any particular religion. Now, Trump is quoted as saying, "I would love to make it a one-time strike on Nigeria, but if they continue to kill Christians, it will be a many-time strike." Now, that was Donald Trump's own words to the New York Times. Now, staying with Donald Trump, the US president has announced the withdrawal of the United States from 66 international organizations identified as part of the Trump administration's review of what it calls wasteful, ineffective, and harmful international organizations. Now, let's take a look at the list of those organizations that they've withdrawn from. We've broken it down into two. These are the 35 non-United Nations agencies. As you can see, there's a whole host of them. Now, included in those non-United Nations organizations, there are, of course, 35 which United States have left. So they include the Global Counterterrorism Forum, the Global Forum on Migration and Development, the International Renewable Energy Agency, the Venice Commission of the Council of Europe too. So these are the non-United Nations organizations, 35 of them, which the United States has withdrawn from. Now, there are 31 UN organizations also which the United States has withdrawn from. These are them. So again, these are 31, and they include the UN Economic and Social Council Economic Council, which include commissions for Africa, Latin America, and the Caribbean. There's also the Framework Convention on Climate Change. That's also seen the United States depart from. There's the Office of Special Representatives of the Secretary General for Children in Armed Conflict, also that same office on sexual violence in conflicts and on violence against children. United Nations Democracy Fund has also, the Americans have also withdrawn from that, and there's also a withdrawal from them on the UN Register of Conventional Arms. Now, the White House says that these organizations are a waste of taxpayer dollars. This brings us essentially to our next story, which is the French President Emmanuel Macron and Germany's President Frank-Walter Steinmeier have condemned US foreign policy during the Trump administration, saying that Washington was breaking free from international rules and the world risked turning into a robber's den. So very strong words. So let's take Macron firstly. He was speaking at the Élysée Palace on Thursday, and he said that multilateral institutions are functioning less and less effectively. But this is what stood out to me in his speech. Now, if we take a look at this graphic, Macron says that France rejects the new colonialism and new imperialism, but also vassalage and the defeatism. What we have achieved for France and in Europe is a step in the right direction: greater strategic autonomy, less dependence on the United States and China. Some very strong words, not very common from Emmanuel Macron when he's talking about the United States in this context. And then looking at the German president, for his part, he talked about the fact that, okay, so Steinmeier, he is the current German president. Now, in terms of Germany's political structure, the president is also a ceremonial title, whereas it's the chancellor that really wields the political power. Nevertheless, Steinmeier is Germany's former foreign minister, so he does have some stock in this matter. And he was speaking at a symposium in Berlin earlier this week to mark his 70th birthday. And during that event, this is what he had to say. Let's take a look at that. Now, he says that there has been a breakdown of values by our most important partner, the United States, which helped build this world order. It is about preventing the world from turning into a robber's den where the most unscrupulous take whatever they want. Smaller, weaker states risk becoming completely defenseless, and entire regions could be treated as the property of a few great powers. Now, neither Macron nor Steinmeier mentioned Venezuela specifically, but it's safe to assume that the US capture of the Venezuelan president, Nicolas Maduro, is front of mind when they both made these comments, as is Greenland. Now, in fact, the European Union Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas said on Thursday that the bloc, that's the European Union, was weighing its response if the United States plans to acquire Greenland materializes. We know that Greenland is strategically important for the United States, being that it has a lot of minerals on its land, which clearly the United States is interested in. Meanwhile, Venezuela has released 5 political prisoners, and it's expected to free many more as it continues efforts to appease the United States. Just behind me, we've heard that the released prisoners include Rocio San Manuel, who is a dual Venezuelan Spanish citizen and a respected analyst of the country's armed forces. Now, the president of Venezuela's National Assembly, Jorge Rodriguez, this is the gentleman being sworn in here. He is the brother of the acting president, or the interim president, Delcy Rodriguez. This is her brother. And he was the one who made this announcement that these releases included both Venezuelans and foreign political prisoners. Now, the release is presented as a unilateral gesture by the Bolivarian government and, by the Venezuelan government. I know their official name is the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, essentially, but they are aimed at consolidating peace and peaceful coexistence in the country, and comes amid intense international pressure and internal tensions that have persisted since the controversial 2024 elections, and also mass arrests that have followed thereafter. Now, that brings to an end our world brief, but moving on to our newspaper headlines across Nigeria and indeed the world, let's take a look at the front page of This Day. This Day leads with reports that the Rivers State House of Assembly has begun a 3rd impeachment process against Governor Siminalayi Fubara and his deputy, halting the presentation of the 2026 budget over allegations of gross misconduct. Now, the move has drawn widespread condemnation from political groups and civil society organizations who warn it could destabilize the state and undermine peace accord brokered by the president himself. This Day also reports that the ADC, that's the African Democratic Congress, has set up a 22-member committee to review its own constitution in order to promote inclusiveness, transparency, and accountability. So lots of politics happening there. Let's take a look at the Daily Independent this morning, which reports that the PDP has released INEC's certified true copy report on the Ekiti governorship primaries. They are insisting that it complied with the law and accuse INEC of bias and a deliberate attempt to exclude its duly nominated candidate from the election. So very strong words come from the PDP. Moving on to the Daily Trust today. The Daily Trust reports that citizens and businesses remain skeptical about these new tax laws. They've been raising concerns over transparency, also enforcement, and the impact on livelihoods. This is despite government assurances of economic stabilization with these new tax laws. Let's take a look at the Daily Trust. The Daily Trust also looks at River State. But what we are going to talk about is this story just here. 10 children dying of cholera in Taraba State. Now, these 10 children are aged between 4 and 10. They have died following a cholera outbreak in Shangi town, which is in the Takum local government area of Taraba State. It's very unfortunate there. The Punch this morning does report that the fuel supply deal between the Dangote refinery and 20 major marketers has collapsed over pricing disagreements. This has triggered a surge in petrol imports in November 2025. Now, the breakdown followed Dangote's reluctance to cut prices in line with falling global benchmarks, prompting marketers to turn to imports and forcing the refinery to revert to open market sales. That's what the Punch write-up says. And moving on to our UK papers, let's take a look at The Guardian this morning. Now, The Guardian reports that there have been further allegations of verbal abuse by Reform UK leader Nigel Farage relating to his school days. Now, Farage has previously either denied the allegations of racist or anti-Semitic behavior or suggested that he never directly racially abused anybody. Interesting. Lastly, let's take a look at the Daily Mail. Now, the Daily Mail reports on what it calls a humiliating U-turn by the UK government over a planned rise in business rates for pubs. There's a lot of back and forth this week. So following criticism of the tax hikes, the newspaper says that the Chancellor is preparing a package of emergency help within days. Also pictured is Renee Nichols Good, who is the woman who was shot at the wheel of her car by immigration officers in the United States earlier this week. So those are your well-briefed stories and your newspaper headlines from across the world. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Okay, fine. I'm not surprised what's happening in the world today, especially with Trump. Go back historically, the 1940s, exactly what Hitler in Germany was doing. Hitler also got into power with a wave of nationalism. Because you remember that after the stock market crash and all the problems that happened, the 28-29 stock market crash, Germany took the beating a lot. And they needed a leader that could, sort of bring Germany back. So Hitler was that leader. And he had written Mein Kampf to tell them that it was about German nationalism, the Aryan race and things like that. And then Jewish people were the problem. And he spread the propaganda around the world, and some leaders kept on sulking to him, the likes of, I think it was it Chamberlain that said we should give him Sudetenland in Germany. And when he was given Sudetenland, he went ahead to take all over Europe. Exactly what is happening today. For good measure, Femi, Hitler too also removed Germany from international multilateral institutions. And this is the second time Trump is doing it. He did it in the first term when he was here. So him doing it again. And people like Macron, they can keep deceiving themselves, talking up to him. Macron is talking in parentheses. He can't really mention Trump and America because he's talking up to him. But you see, it's not about the bully is. When you talk up to him, you're the fool. You know why? The same Trump revealed a private conversation he had with Macron in public to indict Macron as regards the price of pharmaceuticals. So if Trump can do the same to Macron, he could keep talking up to him, and Macron can keep talking to him. But for people like Steinmeier that can actually come out, because Steinmeier has an antecedent of history to know what happened then, I'm happy. So people should keep telling him, and they should brace up for the worst, because leaders like this will grow even wild. And for I want to call it a very funny name, for the Vichy government being run in Venezuela, congratulations to them. Let them keep fooling themselves. It pretty much reminds me, the government in Venezuela now pretty much reminds me of the Vichy government in France that was led by Pétain. You remember the Vichy government after the Germans took over, and they put Pétain there to be able to run the Vichy government, the authoritarian anti-Semitic government, out of Vichy. It was in Vichy, then that's what called the Vichy government. But guess what? When liberation came to France, those that stood tall, like the man from Colombie d'Église, the famous de Gaulle from Colombie d'Église, was a true hero in France. The likes of Pétain today have not been recognized because they went with the oppressors. So Rodriguez should keep going on with the oppressors America here. At some point, Venezuela will stabilize. So all of these things that's happening today, history has happened before. It happened about 100 years ago. Let's keep deceiving ourselves. I yield the floor back.
Well, I think we're currently
currently at a place in international relations where we're seeing different strategies that are used by different countries in order to attain hegemony. Earlier this morning, I was having a conversation with someone when I said, well, if you look at the Chinese example, as an example, China focuses on what they call non-interference in investment and business. So their expansion across the world, involvement in various places, has been based on the fact that we don't care what you do with your politics, we don't care if you have human rights or not, we just want X, Y, Z, and this is how the deal will look. And you juxtapose that with this current Trump administration and the United States and how we're seeing systematically around the world, there's this unilateral demand for what is best for America, even if it may not be what is best for whatever that country may be. And that has obviously caused a huge fallout, as is expected globally. Now, when I look at the responses from France and Germany and so forth, I mean, I'm not really moved by it, because it reminds me of 1884 when they sat down and had the conference with a man called, remember yesterday we spoke about Otto von Bismarck and the scramble for Africa, and how that Berlin conference was shaped by the fact that there was so much competition from various colonial powers for various territories that they had to come together, sit down at a table and carve out different areas. This is after King Leopold II of Belgium had made incursions on the Congolese basin. And this is what we see again. We're now seeing the Europeans saying, and it's only because of Greenland and subsisting issues with Denmark that suddenly they care. Because if this had happened to Venezuela in a silo, I don't think anybody would bat an eyelid. But it's getting a little bit too close to home now. So now they're in essence calling for Donald Trump. This is what I read between the lines, to say, please come to the table so that as we are all neo-imperialists, let's respect each other's boundaries. Don't overstep into an area that's not yours.
Keep everything in global
you have your area. Please don't encroach on our area. As for potential of more strikes coming into Nigeria, I just continue to hope that this is all in collaboration with the Nigerian government, not cooperation, meaning I hope that the Nigerian government is not being coerced into this action, because we've seen that the possibility of such a scenario is high, given what we're seeing with the Trump administration in the rest of the world.
Okay, American foreign policy is the big subject that you have put on the table. An American foreign policy process has always oscillated between isolationism and liberal internationalism. That's the theory. However, under President Trump, we have seen the worst example of isolationism and provincialism, as opposed to what he himself referred to as globalism. Now, that's a theoretical construct for what he has done, and he's been consistent in that regard, trying to remove America from the global stage. In other words, a retreat from internationalism. He did it in his first term. He has made it worse this time around. One of the first things he did on day one, when he assumed office last year, was to just say, look, we are pulling out of the UN Convention on Climate Protection, Climate Change. Now he has gone up to say 65, or is this 66? 31 related UN agencies, 35 non-UN related agencies. So that in itself gives the picture of isolationism. He says he's protecting American sovereignty, he's protecting the American taxpayer, he's also, trying to promote America First policy. They're taking together. What President Trump has done is to hurt America and also to hurt the international system. And that is what, most people are complaining about. Take climate change. Now, the United States not being part of the green economy is also going to put the United States at a disadvantage, just as it will affect the rest of the world. Now, the same Donald Trump says, okay, one strike in Nigeria, but he would have more strikes if Christians are not protected in Nigeria. This is the same the U.S., which he has withdrawn from the Global Counter-Terrorism Fund.
Correct.
So you find all these contradictions in President Trump's retreat from the global space. However, the caveat, 2, provided by Steinmeier, who says that what President Trump is trying to do is to create a robber's den in the world where the most obnoxious, person can just take what he wants. 2, France, that's Macron, says that, look, President Trump is violating the same international order that America helped to create. That is another contradiction there, because America was at the very beginning, whether it was the League of Nations, even if they didn't go with League of Nations eventually because of the issues with League of Nations, and then the United Nations. Now the United Nations has also come forward to say that there's a contradiction here. America contributes 22% of the budget, followed by China, 20% annual budget of the United Nations. Then there's also the Peacekeeping Fund, where America has to contribute 25%. Now, last year, America refused to meet its obligations. And if you don't meet your obligations twice, if you don't meet it 2025, 2026, you will not have a vote in the General Assembly. Other members of the alliance of the Security Council have met their own obligations. So it's not a very straightforward thing about President Trump going to New York Times and saying, I don't believe in international law. I'm guided by my own morality. Who does that? So what President Trump is actually violating is international cooperation. He's turning America away from the world, and it's damaging the humanitarian framework in the world. So that's the context of it that I see. But meanwhile, Iran is in more trouble. 31 provinces have all been in trouble. The Iranian authorities have cut internet allocation. They've killed about 45 people. And so this is the problem. Greenland, America says, whether you like it or not, we will buy Greenland or we will invest in Greenland. So all of these contradictions within the international space, which will determine, international relations in the year 2026. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adefemi. On Greenland, I wonder if the citizens will accept $100,000 per person to sell their country. What a world we're living in. We'll take a short break now.
$2.5 trillion.
In total.
That's the value. They say they don't want to buy. The Danish representative of Greenland in Danish parliament says, no, we are not selling. That is off the table. But there will be a meeting next week between Marco Rubio and the Danish representatives.
Let's see how that all plays out and the business implications. When we return, we'll have Rotis Odiri to give us updates on global business activities. Do stay with us.
Good morning. Today's weather will be sunny with a high of 31 degrees.
Alexa, music, please.
Playing workout music.
Striving for mastery? You need speed, precision, and clarity of purpose. They all add up. Talent is not enough. You've got to prove that you're able to take advantage of unlimited opportunities when they come. And to do that, you need plenty of data. Scratch that. You need unlimited data. And there's no better provider of unlimited data
Access granted
than your all-powerful Glow router.
Whether home or office, enjoy unlimited data on a Glow router. Dial *312#.
I've got unlimited eyes.
Glow Unlimited.
I'm still watching.
In most parts of the world, girl child are not recognized in a family. I hope all this problem holding down a girl child did not hold me down.
The idea behind the project is to identify schools that we think the parents are not economically empowered to sponsor their children to schools.
In demonstration of our commitment to reducing that number, we've come here today to provide some of the essentials that we believe would help the children in school. We worked with different schools in 5 states across the country, and we reached out to 15,000 children.
want to be a food scientist. And Polaris Bank is helping me realize this dream. I'm perfectly excited.
My Baba, they always say, for market, every day gets your own wahala. Sometimes people go on scamming. But Baba say, no be by gra. You must cool down, dey sharp. Because with OPay payment, your money go enter sharp, no story. But inside market, anything fit happen. One day, we no see phone again. My Baba remember OPay USSD lock, dial *955*131#. Baba press and lock account. From market woman to driver, from small boy to big man. Now OPay, they protect people like us. My Papa fit sell, press phone, collect POS, and still they teach me price. And when they don't tire, go just tap OPay night guard. We no fear for this our hustle life. Now OPay be the people payment shield.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Now for global business updates, Rotus Uderi joins us. Good morning, Rotus.
Good morning, Dr. Batsi.
Your
Good morning.
NGS is doing well.
Yes, I came for you this morning. Yes, you are the person I'm starting with today. Vimbai, good morning. Ayo, we are starting with Nigeria. Dr. Batsi, can you please stop talking about market women and the stock exchange? It is a good milestone. If a market woman can transfer money with her phone, she can buy a stock with her phone. Stock markets build wealth. You need a deep capital market so that the government can borrow, so that corporates can raise money. So please, even market women, everybody should invest. Teach a man or woman to fish and they eat forever. So I won't dwell on this because you've already touched on it. President Tinubu hailing the Nigerian stock exchange growing to 100 trillion. Please, if you're out there, talk to your financial advisor, assess your risk, and invest. The market did 51% last year. That cannot be on. You cannot push that aside. So, market women and everybody else, please invest. Why should market women care about gold? You can apply. Why should market women care about what's happening in River State? You can apply market women to everything. Let's get to the news very quickly. Asia markets, which market women should be watching as well, were mixed in trading today. It's been a volatile week. I won't dwell on this. Defense stocks particularly were up. These are select 3 Korean defense stocks. You've seen what's been going on between Japan and China. Dr. Bati mentioned this yesterday. Donald Trump wanted to spend more money on where are defense stocks for Korea. President Trump wanted to spend more money on defense and the United States budget. Germany passing a 500 billion euro stimulus fund for this. So everybody's just spending more money on defense. All right. Okay, here we go. So these are the 3 stocks. These are just select stocks, defense stocks in Korea, all rising 11% here, 6% here, 4% there. Let's get to China. Inflation in China rising 0.8% CPI. November was 0.7. Core inflation that takes out your volatile food and energy, that didn't change. But look at PPI, your producer price index, continues to be in deflation territory, 1.9%. I think it's 36 months now. All right, moving on from China, we go over to the United States. President Trump is supposed to be meeting with oil executives today, later on, to talk about incentives to invest in Venezuela. They've already spoken to, I think, Chris Smith, the energy secretary, and expressed their worries and they need guarantees. And we hear, he says he's going to meet with Machado, the opposition leader, possibly next week. So maybe the opposition in Venezuela have a chance here to get a foothold on power after she speaks. And she's also a Nobel Prize winner after she speaks with Trump. Lots of stuff going on today. The Supreme Court might rule on the Trump tariffs today. According to Polymarket, we talked about Polymarket yesterday and that mystery bets that put 32,000 on Maduro getting captured and earning 436,000. They have a 1 in 4 chance of the Supreme Court ruling in favor of the Trump tariff. So we'll see what happens if that comes to be. Jobs. I'll tell you, it's a really big day for markets today. Non-farm payrolls are due. Markets are expecting 70,000. In November, it was 64,000. Unemployment is expected to take a bit downwards to 4.5. Markets will be looking at that information later on today. So we'll see how the U.S. labor market is doing. Speaking of tariffs and the deficits, trade numbers. This is the lowest deficit for the U.S. in 1 month since June of 2009. Trade deficit deficit narrowing from November's August of 48.1 billion to September's 29, or is this October? Yeah. So and the Trump administration is celebrating this because they're saying it's because of their policies, if you will. What else is happening today? Alphabet leapfrogging Apple to become the second most valuable company in the world, almost 4 trillion behind Nvidia's 4.4. We talked a lot about Gemini and how the markets have favorably moved there. Speaking of AI, OpenAI has released OpenAI for healthcare. It's not supposed to replace your doctor, but it's supposed to collate all your health records, arrange them, and send them to a medical professional if you have an appointment. And then we get to, I think, CES. This is Lenovo's new Legion Pro laptop. So it's at the push of a button, it expands. It goes from like 16 inches to, I think, about 23 inches. It's called the Legion Pro. Supposed to be made for gamers. They showed off this concept. I think it's a concept for now, but it could go into production at the Consumer Electronics Show over in Las Vegas, which actually concludes today. Also, would you like to get your shoes? Oh, by the way, speaking of Lenovo, they've announced a partnership with FIFA to bring artificial intelligence to the 2026 World Cup. So they're going to be showing all sorts of avatars for players, bringing you stats and things like that. So they had a speech, John Fontino here, who made a speech at the Consumer Electronics Show with one of the executives from Lenovo. There's a robot that can clean your shoes. If you, this is Clear X. They essentially, it's a machine, you put your shoes in there, and it's essentially washes them for you, whether it's sneakers or whether it's loafers on the, like they're saying, it's the first of its kind. So that's where you open it up. You can see a pair of sneakers in there. You can see how the water comes through and it washes it for you. And I funny, I got my shoes polished yesterday, and I was thinking about this as to what it would mean for all the folks out there that are in this, that do this manually. What else are the updates from the CES? Oh yeah, this is Zoox. This is from Amazon. They showed this off at the Consumer Electronics Show. This is a robo taxi from Amazon. So Amazon is jumping into a space that is getting a little bit, I won't say it's crowded. You've got Waymo in there from Google. You've got Tesla. You've got Uber is also in this space as well. So we'll see what other updates come through today to conclude the Consumer Electronics Show. So that's our update.
Let's celebrate the Senegalese female founder, Aisha Evans.
Yeah. What did she do?
She's the founder of Zoox. She's the one
that Amazon got over, yeah?
So the company was founded by Senegalese female Aisha Evans.
Oh, okay.
Then Amazon bought her over and still got her on board to do the company. I think it's worth celebrating. This is a woman, an African woman in tech that Amazon has bought over, and she's in this interesting business of robo-taxis, which is not an easy one. Yeah. And she's Senegalese.
True.
Yeah.
So I've run out of time, but it will be interesting to see what the Supreme Court, U.S. Supreme Court comes up with. The major issue is that the International Economic Powers Act, Economic Powers Act, whether the president can impose those tariffs. If they vote no, then it will mean that President Trump's America will have to refund all those importers who have already paid their levies. As for the NGS, yes, it will still do better in 2026, particularly if Dangote Refinery list on the market. That will add about 40 trillion additional naira to that market. But we are saying that market capitalization should not be the index of economic health. Economic health will make sense when those market women you are referring to will have the capacity to also invest and benefit. And all of us can feel better, including Zimbabwean investors. Anyway, thank you very much.
We are foreign investors.
Yes, all of us. We'll take a short break now. And when we return, we'll be talking to Darlington Wauju, Rivers State APC spokesperson. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
free to imagine a world with no boundaries. Just you and your dreams, running wild and free. Oh no, life can be easy. Smooth connection with the correct. Smooth connection with the correct.
Thinking of banking in Africa? Think Zenith. In today's fast-moving, fast-changing world, you need a financial partner that understands your unique expectations. A bank with presence in major financial centers across the world, with the enabling platform to facilitate seamlessly, whenever, wherever, however. A bank with best-in-class financial solutions from a superb combination of technology and human touch. For easy, fast, and secure banking that creates real value. Turning dreams into reality is now in your hands. People, technology, service. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
In the beating heart of Owerri, business never sleeps. From sunrise to sundown, the wheels keep turning. And behind the scenes, vision meets action. Governor Hope Uzodimma's leadership has turned manifestos into reality, transformations that feels like a miracle. But progress needs peace, and in Imo, it's not left to chance. From land to sky to river deep, guardians are watching, protecting dreams and opportunity. At Orashi's quiet shore, hydropower is rising, set to energize a growing economy. The change is visible. New roads emerge, industry hums, communities come alive. At the center, a digital revolution. 500,000 young minds trained each year to build the future. As Orashi rises, so does Imo and the hopes of...
And the winner is... And the winner goes to... Be Unstoppable at Performances and Global Conversations, the 9th All-African Music Awards, AFRIMA, January 7th to 11th, 2026.
Featuring African Music Business Summit, a platform for business networking among global music professionals. January 8, 2026, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. at Eco Hotel and Suites, Lagos, Nigeria. Register at www.afrima.org.
January 9th, 2026, join us at AFRIMA Music Village, evening of high-octane music performances from over 25 African Music International superstars at Ikeja City Mall, Alausa, Ikeja, 6 p.m. West African time.
January 11 comes with all the glitz and glam, Africa's global music superstars, celebrities, and international personalities at the 9th AFRIMA Awards. Red carpet, 3:30 award ceremony, 7 p.m. at Eco Convention Center, Eco Hotel and Suites, Lagos, Nigeria. Broadcast live to 84 countries.
To be hosted by Nigerian multi-talented superstar Foul, the Bad Guy, and Senegalese and broadcaster Lillian Maroon. Tickets and seat reservations, visit www.afrima.org. This is Africa Unfiltered, Unleashed Unstoppable.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Now, adding to the drama in Rivers State, the State House of Assembly has begun impeachment proceedings against Governor Siminalayi Fubara and his deputy Ngozi Odu. During plenary presided over by the Speaker of the State House of Assembly, Martin Zamaule, on Thursday, the Majority Leader Major Jack read out the notice of allegations and gross misconduct against Fubara. Ameule said the notice will be served to Fubara in the next 7 days. Now, reacting to the impeachment proceedings against Fubara, the ruling APC has rejected the impeachment process against their governor and his deputy. Well, joining us on the show to discuss the drama in the state is Darlington Nwauju, Rivers State APC spokesperson. Good morning, sir, and welcome to the morning show.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. Good morning, Nigerians.
Well, Mr. Nwauju, tell us about the imminent blowout in Rivers State. We have seen the commencement of the drama. What is likely to happen? Even if the APC is saying, oh, Governor Fubara is our governor, Nobody can do anything to him. But the members of the House of Assembly are also APC members. So, the APC in Rivers State is just about to implode again. This is the third impeachment proceeding against Governor Fubara. Tell us about this one day, one trouble, 1 hour, one crisis in Rivers State and what we should expect.
Well, I want to quickly say good morning, Dr. Abati.
Good morning.
Let me say this clearly. For those who are in doubt of the resolve of the APC in Rivers State to ensure that the government of the day in Rivers is not destabilized, then let them take this to the bank. That we would not accept, we would not align, we would not also pander to the wishes of any external force anywhere that will attempt to destabilize the government of Rivers State. Given the fact, like we clearly stated in our statement yesterday, that this governor is not just a member of the All Progressive Congress, but as it stands today, is the leader of the All Progressive Congress in Rivers State. Now, you would recall the series of drama, or the drama series that we've been treated to in Rivers State. And that was purely when they were members of the People's Democratic Party. Starting from October 13th, 2023, when the drama began, we believe strongly that this should not dovetail into the APC. The spirit of PDP cannot be transferred into the APC. We are going to resist it, we are going to reject it, and every Frankenstein monster that attempts to destabilize our party and the leadership of the governor of Rivers State in Rivers State will surely be resisted by every legal means possible.
Mr. Nwauju, this is not an emotional thing. The House of Assembly of Rivers State is a legislative assembly. And the guys there, they are relying on Section 188 of the Constitution, except they make the same mistake as the Oyo State House of Assembly did in the Ladoja case, where they went and met in a hotel and they didn't follow the procedure under Section 188. Hotel. Yes. So if they just follow that Section 188, even Section 188 sub 11 says, gross misconduct is as they define it. So what are you going to resist? It's not an emotional thing. If they want to remove Fubara, they will remove him.
Dr. Abati, it is not, I am not being emotional about it. This has to do with the twin issue of politics and legality. I concede the fact that this has legal implications owing to the fact that it borders centrally on Section 188 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. And you well know that the State Assembly is a creation of the Constitution under Chapter 5 of our Constitution. And I do not think that any reasonable person will support the usurpation of the powers of the State House of Assembly or even any legislature anywhere in the world. No true Democrat will support the usurpation or promote the usurpation of the powers of the legislature, given the fact that this is a tripod governance or a democracy, and every democracy is a tripod that sits or rests on the legislature, judiciary, and the executive. But all we are saying is that the 7 or 8 points that have been laid out there that the House members consider as impeachable offenses, to our mind, are politically motivated. And because they are politically motivated, we are saying that as a political party, we'll be able to resolve issues that are in the realms of politics politically. Now, if you also want to look at, I've read countless tons of arguments and commentaries since this issue broke out yesterday. And one of the questions that the people on the streets of Port Harcourt have been asking is, what was or what is, if you like, the offense of the Deputy Governor of Rivers State. And we all know that the Nigerian Constitution does not spell out a clear function to the office of the Deputy Governor. And whereas the Deputy Governor has duties and responsibilities that are solely directed by our principal, the governor. And so our argument is that, like I said before, this is politically motivated, and it will surely be deoxygenated from the realms and within the realms of politics. We concede to the fact that yes, the House of Assembly has powers under Section 188 to investigate, and not just to investigate, to interrogate, checks and balances, and to ensure that appointments are duly approved by the House of Assembly. But you also know that reversing the decision of hundreds of thousands of Rivers people is not an easy decision. It is quite a tedious one. It is a serious business. It is fundamental and germane to democracy for anybody or group of individuals to wake up one morning to seek to reverse the decision made by hundreds of thousands of Rivers people is not a joke. And so because it is not a joke, it is something that must be followed procedurally. And you cannot, by any means possible, thwart any of the procedures. Yes, the governor has 7 days within which to respond to the allegations brought before him and is deputed by the members of the House of Assembly.
Mr. Nwauju.
Yes, please.
Okay, I'm glad you can hear me. You know, we
yes,
don't
please.
want this to turn... I've got it this time around.
Yes.
Well,
Yes,
you know, we don't want to run the risk of this turning into a monologue. Let's continue the conversation. I want to pivot to a different angle of this, Mr. Nwauju. Article 21 of the APC constitution refers to offences, also refers to anti-party activities. Any section A, subsection 2 specifically speaks to any conduct which is likely to embarrass or have adverse effect on the party or bring the party into hatred, contempt, ridicule, or disrepute, and a number of other disobedience as well of some directives of the party. My question is, if these APC House of Assembly members do not heed the APC's request to halt this impeachment process, will they be subjected to anti-party, to the consequences of anti-party activities according to the APC constitution? Because earlier you spoke about the spirit of the PDP not coming into the APC. And we know that one of the challenges the PDP had is the inability to discipline party members. If they refuse to follow your directive or the APC's directive, will these House of Assembly members be disciplined? And what will that discipline look like?
Now, let me assure you that the current leadership of the All Progressive Congress in Nigeria under Professor Yewada Nantawe and Senator Ajibola Bashiru have the capacity, because all policy statements and directions and directives, if you like, of the party flows from the National Secretariat of our great party. And so I want to assure the public, Rivers people in particular, that our political party, under the firm leadership of Professor Nantawe and Senator Ajibola Bashiru, has capacity and competence and experience to deal with the current simmering situation. And I assure you that even without looking through our books, as you've clearly stated, as enshrined in Article 20, we have disciplinary procedures. We will not delve into the realms of having anybody disciplined until and when it is very clearly and obvious to us that this is an attempt to destabilize our
Okay, so is this party. What has happened? Do you consider this anti-party activities?
You cannot consider every political disagreement as an anti-party activity. It is still, like I said before, it is well in the realms of political disagreement, and it will be resolved as such.
Okay. Please, I would like to know, just for sake of the conversation and my question, what faction are you part of in the APC in Rivers?
Rufai, good morning once again. I thank you for your question. It is interesting to note, like I've read some interventions since yesterday that we issued that statement concerning the existence of a faction of our party recognized by the NWC of the party. Now, let me say this clearly and abundantly so, that the All Progressive Congress in Nigeria is a party of democracy, a party of progressives. This is a party that stands with the people of Nigeria and obeys the rule of law. Now, before now, sometime in August 12, 2024, there was a decision by a state high court presided over by Justice Sika Henry Aprioku, which reinstated and nullified the decision of Alhaji Ganduje to set aside or to dissolve validly elected executives of our party. And then, flowing from that, in November of 2024, another high court again nullified the congresses that purportedly produced one Mr. Tony Okocha as chairman of the All Progressive Congress in Rivers State. And these issues, as we speak today, is lying before the Court of Appeal Port Harcourt Division and is not being dispensed with. And so I laugh at those who refer to our party as factionalized, given the fact that there is a legally recognized executive of the party led by Emeka Beke.
So you're part of the Beke faction. Let me just hold it at that. A part of the Beke faction, because I didn't.
I said the legally recognized executives of the party as led by Emeka Beke. And there are no
you're part of
the
Beke faction, because I didn't see Emeka Beke go there to raise
Beke
Fubara's
executives.
So you're part of the Beke faction. So very good. Thank you for clarifying that. So is
Beke
it that
executives?
No, okay.
Beke led executives.
Let me go ahead. Please don't interrupt me. I beg you in the name of God. So, as being part of the Beke faction,
go ahead, Rufai.
Are you people now in support of Fubara? Is it that you have done a deal with Fubara? Because I'm surprised that you are supporting him. So is it that you have done a deal? Because I thought your allegiance before was to Tony Cole in all of this matter. So can I confirm from you that you people are supporting Fubara and your allegiance now is to Fubara on the Beke side?
Now I had an interview with a sister station, and I clearly stated the provisions of our constitution and the way the party runs conventionally, and that is very, very abundantly clear. And there are no ambiguities with all these things. It is only those who choose to either be economical with the truth, or they choose willfully to be ignorant of the facts on ground. Now, number one, before now, we had a standard bearer for the All Progressive Congress Party, which is Pastor Architect Tony Cole. And until you have, or you go into another election cycle and elect a new standard bearer, that standard bearer remains the leader of the party. Now, fortunately, the sitting governor of Rivers State joins the All Progressive Congress. And our party constitution gives authority to the party to recognize the sitting governor as leader of our political party. And so that is how it works. The moment the governor of Rivers State consummated his membership of the All Progressive Congress Party, he automatically becomes leader of our party. There are no ambiguities. It is not being emotional. It's not saying half-truths or churning out irrelevant stories. I am not trained to churn out half-truths.
Mr. Waju, just before we go, we're running out of time now. Can you please comment as briefly as possible?
Yes, please. On
the role of Minister Wike in this matter? Because these days you discuss Rivers State, you must have Wike as, factor, Wike's presence, Wike's influence, Wike's, impact in the matter. Briefly, the way you see it.
Well, I must say, Dr. Abati, that I speak for the All Progressive Congress Party. I do not speak for Minister Nyesom Wike. And so it is very also difficult for any sane individual to delve into arguments or begin to offer opinions or ideas or rumors or hearsays about any other individual, especially those who are not even of the same political plumage with you. And so I dare say, or I am constrained to say, sir, that it will be difficult to make commentaries on somebody who is not even a member of my own political party. My interest is the APC. My interest is that the APC turns itself into a winning machine in Rivers State and wins elections come 2027. I'm not interested in non-APC members.
Please, just hold on. Hold your fire. I am constrained, and I dare say that as a stakeholder in Rivers State, you cannot play deaf and dumb about the Wike factor in Rivers politics. Forget about APC. Tell us what you know as a stakeholder, not as an APC member.
Yes, but I'm trying to say, Dr. Abati, with all due respect, you cannot pigeonhole me into offering opinions on something that I clearly choose not to. You cannot pigeonhole me into doing such. Now, I say to you again, for the sake of emphasis, that I choose not to be forced into the realms of commenting about non-APC members. The governor of Rivers State is a member of the All Progressive Congress. The House of Assembly members are members of the All Progressive Congress. So when I choose to have discussions around these individuals, I have the authority, I have the legal rights to do so, but not to now begin to analyze or subject my consciousness and my conscience to somebody who is not even a member of my political party. I have no business discussing such an individual. I'm sorry, I cannot offer any opinions about him.
You know if you talk about him, you fear Wike, Abi?
Well, no problem. Fear is an acceptable human emotion.
Mr. Rufai, I take exception to that. If there is one individual who critiqued the 8 years administration of the FCT minister, I think we are not up to 5 persons in Rivers State that have done so time and time and time again. And so I am not afraid of anybody. I am only afraid of the Almighty God who created heaven and earth.
Okay.
And I fear nobody, I can assure you.
Mr. Nwaju, we get your point, which is that Nyesom Wike, Minister of the FCT, is irrelevant when APC matters are being discussed. That would be a fair summary, I think.
We are discussing purely APC matters.
Yes. And you say Wike is irrelevant to APC matters in Rivers State. Thank you very much indeed. We'll take a short break now, and when we return, we'll be talking to our rights analysts, Dr. Sam Amadi and Frank Tietie. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Show your smile, do your future, show your tutor, do your stream, share your dream, do your passion, share your fashion, do your pain, show your game, do your friendship, share your time, do your laughter, make it true. With Glow YouTube bundles.
Do you 250 naira for 5 hours, 600 naira for 14 hours. Dial *312#.
With Glow YouTube bundles. Do you?
Glow Unlimited. Emergencies happen when you least expect them to. It gets worse when you are cash-strapped. No need to despair. First Advance has you covered. You can get that urgent cash right now on First Advance. With First Advance, salary earners can get up to 50% of their salary. No hassles. As long as you earn a monthly salary and your salary account has been active for at least 2 months. It doesn't matter if you run a salary account with First Bank or any other bank. Just dial *894*11# or simply dial *894# on your mobile phone. What's more, when you open a First Bank salary account, you can enjoy 0 charges and free debit card issuance. Download the First mobile app on Play Store or App Store today. Log in to experience First Bank digital banking. Select loans, select First Advance, and follow the prompts to receive your loan. Don't let that urgent need get the best of you. Get First Advance now. It's as simple as dialing *894*11#. First Advance. Fast, convenient, secure. You first. First Bank.
In this life, it's what you do behind that shows in front.
Now give us the fire. Tell us more. It's Cosmo or nothing. Luxury or not. This is Cosmo.
That's why I roll with Cosmo deodorant. No sweat, no stains, no odor.
Now you know.
Cosmo Roll-On Whitening Deodorant.
All day freshness, 7 days a week from GVS Cosmetics.
Emergencies happen when you least expect them to. It gets worse when you are cash-strapped. No need to despair. First Advance has you covered. You can get that urgent cash right now on First Advance. With First Advance, salary earners can get up to 50% of their salary. No hassles. As long as you earn a monthly salary and your salary account has been active for at least 2 months. It doesn't matter if you run a salary account with First Bank or any other bank. Just dial *894*11# or simply dial *894# on your mobile phone. What's more, when you open a First Bank salary account, you can enjoy 0 charges and free debit card issuance. Download the First mobile app on Play Store or App Store today. Log in to experience First Bank digital banking. Select loans, select First Advance, and follow the prompts to receive your loan. Don't let that urgent need get the best of you. Get First Advance now. It's as simple as dialing *894*11#. First Advance. Fast, convenient, secure. You first. First Bank.
African Music Awards, AFRIMA, in partnership with the African Union Commission and the Lagos State Government. The biggest music stage, the stars are celebrated in Goho with 23.9-carat gold-plated AFRIMA trophy to be hosted by Vowels, the bad guy. Live broadcast of Red Carpet starts at 3:30 p.m. AFRIMA Awards live broadcast starts at 7 p.m. on Sunday, January 11, 2026 at the Eco Convention Center, Eco Hotel and Suites, Lagos, Nigeria. For tickets, invitations, seat reservations, visit afrima.org. 9th AFRIMA Awards. Be unstoppable.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Rivers State yesterday slipped deeper into another political turmoil as lawmakers moved to deploy the ultimate weapon against the governor and his deputy, removal from office. What began as a simmering struggle for control has now escalated into a high-stakes showdown that could upend the state's leadership. The State House of Assembly, led by Speaker Martins Amewule, initiated fresh development proceedings against Governor Siminalayi Fubara and his deputy, Professor Ngozi Odu. Joining us on this show to discuss this latest move, by the State Assembly, our Rice News analysts, Dr. Sam Amadi and Frank Tietie. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Ruben Roberto.
Good morning. Well, good to have both of you in the house. Very quickly, before now, we've been discussing the plan to remove Governor Fubara and his deputy from office the third time. And then we've been talking about the drama, the melodrama, as it were, or the tragic melodrama, if you like, in Rivers State. We'd just like both of you to comment your take on this developing story in Rivers State. Very familiar. 1 week, one trouble, 1 day, one trouble in Rivers State. Let me start with you, Dr. Amadi, and thereafter I would like to have your input, Frank Tietie. Happy New Year to both of you.
Thank you so much for having me. And well, like they say, this is now becoming a classical drama, although it has very serious implications for both governance and state stability. But the background is simple. Politics and its disappointments easily feed into judicial and quasi-judicial procedure, and that's what impeachment, is. The constitutional premise is that the House of Assembly or National Assembly could impeach a president or governor on what they call gross misconduct. Now, there's a plethora of cases in Nigeria that has tried to explain the procedure, and what comes out is that strict compliance with the process. But beyond the legality of the procedure, the fact that this is like a nuclear option when political differences become insolvable, or when political actors themselves are no longer going to tolerate the other person, or when the stakes, like Wike says, if this guy gets second time, I'm dead. So when political actors face political high-cost political acts that are threats, they resort to a nuclear option. So we've seen that not many of these have succeeded, underscoring that there are basis, that little good faith often in the triggering of impeachment. So if Rivers State is very clear that this is continuing frustration around the way the governor has been going on in terms of perhaps not, keeping the deals. But it doesn't look like that nothing has happened extraordinarily in terms of the process of governance, that warrants this higher level of frustration and anger that's now leading to very precipitate action. So the question that is that this is all about what's going to happen in 2027 and what's going to follow after that. If now that the governor has moved to APC to provide himself some kind of protection, then the other combatants in this political, big battle reckons that something drastic has to happen to stop him. If he doesn't get this, if he gets past this stage, then they are all going to be politically damaged. So this is politics, but the Constitution seems to be, preempted that we're going to get into this crisis, and have provided steps that, if followed strictly, would create a balance and be able to, disincentive against reckless political action. So we'll wait to see, but it may not likely succeed. The Constitution has provided security. The Constitution is realistic that political disappointments will soon enter into proceeding for impeachment and then end up becoming a legal process, in which case courts will sit over and superintend the exercise of political discretion by political actors.
Your take. Frank Tietie.
Of desperate politicians who seem to have lost their sense of responsibility in terms of delivering governance to the people. They have become so desperate to the point of defecting and counter-defecting, become so desperate to the point of, tying politics and holding on to political power as if it's hacking to their own life. so desperate to the point of demolishing standing structures that is supposed to house the House of Assembly. So this desperation has been the characteristic of politicians when they have differences, especially when godfathers are involved. It shouldn't be so, because we have sufficient directions that have been given by the Supreme Court in many cases that we are familiar with, particularly the case of Inakuju and Adeleke, the case of Darie, the cases of Baribe, and even Peter Obi. The courts have, given directions as to proper behavior by politicians when they have differences to the extent that they have to wield the big stick. What is important, therefore, is this. This desperation can be referred to as abuse of power. But there must be some presumption that no matter how we consider the politicians to be a bunch of rascals, they are not. The presumption is that they won elections, they contested, and they represent the people, particularly those in the houses of assembly, I would say, not particularly in Rivers State, particularly a governor. They represent the people. So whatever they do, whether we like it or not, whether it falls below whatever standard that we've set for them, they are exercising proper authority. It should be important to also consider that the issue of impeachment is political, very political, and it is legitimately political, but it is ultimately constitutional, and that makes it legal. And when it is legal, constitutional provisions must be followed. And in this case, from the decisions, the earlier decisions of the Supreme Court, they must be followed mathematically with regards to dates, with regards to timelines, and with regards to composition, and those who do have such authority. There should be no dispute as to whether or not the assembly is operating outside the proper place where it should be, or there is dispute as to who is speaker or who are the members. Now, having said that, we must also now consider that the important part is that should politicians now consider that when the Constitution refers to gross misconduct, like one funny case we had in the time past where a deputy governor was impeached simply because he was rearing chickens, that makes a mockery of such important power of impeachment. It must be gross misconduct, something that touches on actual constitutional breach. So we must not waste precious governance time, particularly having the Rivers people having suffered seriously as a result of this brickbat between a godfather and a renegade godson, and then an assembly that seems not to have a mind of its own. There must be a call to order that governance is so important. Time is going. Though fortunately, we've seen in the case of Peter Obi that the Supreme Court does watch, that reserving the power to reverse every nonsensical move by an assembly that thinks that it can exercise its power not only politically, but as a result of desperation or to please one particular person. But on the other hand, the governors must realize too that they have a constitutional responsibility to govern according to the book. You see, there must be respect for our constitution. So what we're witnessing in Rivers is another test. It's a normal thing. It's another test, but we would have thought that we have learned our lessons from the case of Rashidi Ladoja, the case of Joshua Darie, the case of Peter Obi, the case of Abaribe, to now know that we don't have to waste precious governance time in trying to remove somebody just because there are political differences, issues of policy, and then we don't have to have boastful godfathers insisting that they own a particular state and as such will make a House of Assembly become so mindless that it does not have a mind of its own and then now has a predictable mind. We cannot also afford the recklessness of executive power in destroying and pulling down structures just because we want to stifle the work of a House of Assembly. A House of Assembly cannot be prevented. Not even the courts can prevent
Frank,
the legislature
because of
from carrying its job.
Because of time, I can feel you're impassioned. You're making such incredible points. Because of time, I'd like to step in here. Let me move to Dr. Sam Amadi. Dr. Sam Amadi, from Frank's takes, he's spoken of a number of other instances we've seen in the past, although some might argue that dynamics are different. What do you think are the options that Governor Fubara has? We have seen him successfully exercise appealing to the president, and the president's intervention has saved him twice. Another element we have seen being used, which was what triggered the state of emergency, was the threat of violence. Now, what are the tools available to him to ward off this action that has been taken?
Well, good questions. First is they understand that the constitutional design of liberal democracy is check and balance. That is a critical proposition here. And impeachment procedures are designed to balance power. So you can see the executive has power, the legislature has power, the judiciary has power. So three actors play. Now, the legislature is obviously motivated and mobilized to go after him. He has to, the due notice will give 7 days, he has 14 days to respond, and then there could be appointment of investigators, and then, of course, a vote of yes or no. Now, again, so where are the leverage here? First, the first leverage, of course, is political. I mean, Wike and his group continues to say that they pledge to Tinubu. Tinubu is their godfather, but local politics is local politics. So is the president capable of calling back the dogs and say, okay, hands off, game over, and find a solution again that can hold and that appeals to both persons? The problem with this political proposition is that it's like a zero-sum game. You know, Fubara still as governor, and on the ticket, a disaster for Wike. If they can create win-win, and so that's the political option. The one that's within Fubara's full control now is the judicial process. Now, the main anchor for this procedure is the appointment by the Chief Justice of the state of those investigators. That is really the anchor point. If you don't get there, you are gone. So what leverage does he have? Of course, he removed the chief judge. Everything has been politics, and I don't blame him. He knows the game against himself. He appointed a chief judge that we think would be more amenable to him. And again, because also the grounds for his impeachment are not legally overwhelming, to say the least. Some would say it's really trash. But so the judge will be the saving point here, because he will appoint persons who may not, at least by definition constitutionally, people of integrity, who are not politically partisan. So they will look at the lens and say, has this governor, since the end of emergency rule, done anything that amounts to gross misconduct? Even though the Supreme Court has said gross misconduct is in the eye of the beholder. But here, this man of integrity would look at the lens and say, what really is the big deal here? What has this governor done that's suffering 6 months incarceration, if you like, politically, and then coming back, has done anything? So this will be the saving. They would say, we don't think this guy has done anything to warrant. And as the Supreme Court has said in Adeleke's case and many cases, once that verdict is out, dead. So they truncate that impeachment process, although you can restart again several times. So I think the real saving grace will be the judicial side, where he has more leverage and whose definitive proclamation via the investigators who say no guilt. And the law says, as Nikki Toby rightly puts it, it says they don't have two options, just one of two. Proven, not proven. If they say not proven, dead. If they say proven, then straight to process of impeachment. So that, I think, is really where we are here, and that's a saving grace for him.
The reason why this crisis has raged on is because of the balance of power. Wike has got FCT, Fubara is the governor. Both of them have power. Best way to settle out this matter, like I've always said, in a worst case scenario, is either you take the power from Fubara or you take the power from Wike, which the president might choose to say doesn't want Wike in his cabinet again, or choosing the Fubara route might be a long one because it also has implications on even the APC themselves. It's going to be an indictment on their party. The question I'm going to ask you today is a very, very difficult one. For the interest of the Rivers people, which Fubara and Wike does not represent, which is about them, who do you think we should take the balance of power from? I'll start with you, Dr. Sam Amadi, then afterwards, Frank Tete, I'll come to you. For the interest of the Rivers people, which, mind you, Wike or Fubara do not represent, they represent their own selves and their own power hegemony here. So in the interest of the Rivers people, who should we take the balance of power from?
Okay, so good question. And I start first from, I start first from what we're learning from even international law and international politics. Okay, so that's the moral, ethical side of it. And democracy is also idealistic, so we have to start that point. Fubara, I will amend their thesis slightly to say Fubara officially represents or should represent the interests of Rivers people because he's their governor. We know that there's agency principal problem in democracy as we have it in corporate governance. So sometimes the agent never, promotes the interest of the principal, the citizens. But, formally is Wike represent the interests of the Tinubu administration. So I think that the balance of power ethically should be shifted towards Fubara, who is the governor of the state. Wike's interest in this matter is political survival. And he made that point. He keeps saying, look, I made a mistake in choosing the governor. You didn't choose the governor. You helped the governor to be a candidate. The people made a choice. If we are still pretending we have a democracy, in fact, that's what I see in this battle, is incoherence. We've seen impeachment is proper in politics, in the US, everywhere. But it's always based on governance misconduct. It's not based on a notion that I brought this boy to present my interest and this boy is not representing my interest. So the courage and the clarity of thought of Nigerian politicians to openly say, this is my government, this is my state, next time I'll bring somebody who will represent me, is so, brilliantly diabolical and shameful. I mean, how can people openly say, my anger is that I brought A and A is not doing what I want, not what the people want. So there's no argument ethically that the guy who ought to stand tall is Fubara. He's a guy the people elected and he should be punished for failing to represent them, not punished for failing private pact. But politics is the act of the possible, and sometimes the possible is ridiculous. In that case, the president might take off the balance of power and give to Wike. And it's simple. Who serves me better? Who is central to my 2023, 2027 presidential campaign? What we are seeing, Wike is so strong because he has control of states. And when we talk about the state, the judiciary is a key part of the state. There's this notion about this guy controls everything. And he seems to be getting results. And it's a telling commentary on how the Nigerian institution has collapsed and fallen, that we can openly identify somebody as the lord of the manor, whose position is relatively insignificant. I mean, in political governance, the Minister of FCT is relatively insignificant because the Minister of FCT is an agent. It's actually a SA to the president. The president, the chief executive of FCTA because of if you look at the Federal Capital Territory Act, and he just donates that power to a minister. And that minister, so Wike has earned the right to be seen as too powerful. So in my view, ethically, Fubara is the guy who should have the power. But de facto in politics, the guy who has the power is the guy who serves the president's better political interests.
Okay, thank you so much. Mr. Frank Tete?
See, I think that it is morally, politically, and legally wrong for us to give any place to the president in this matter. In fact, the president appears to be doing more harm in the Rivers issue than good. We must come to a point where we allow our institutions to run smoothly and allow our laws to be tested and our constitutional norms to be established. So it should have nothing to do with President Tinubu. So the era where they say it was federal might that they used to remove Ngige as governor, as to be arrested and then forced to resign. The era where they say the then president don't want Rashidi Ladoja, or he wants an impeachment immediately against Alame Sega or Joshua Dari and the rest of them. All of those things are contrary and inimical to the principle of federalism. So we must establish, and we should advise our president very strongly to wash off his hands from what's going on in Rivers State. Now, in that case, let us also understand, and I think this is important, I'll stop this unnecessary vilification of the figures here. Let them play their politics, let them govern. However, if they must exercise power, and I refer to the powers under Section 188 of the Constitution by the members of the House of Assembly, they should exercise such political power according to law. If they fail, they must realize that even though the courts cannot stop the exercise of legislative powers, however, the court has the powers to stop any form of unconstitutional and abusive use of such political power. So we're watching them. If they fail to comply with the rules or with the provisions of the Constitution, then they can be checked. However, I think it is not proper to constantly subject what's going on, Rivers politics, to this kind of national assessment simply because of a divisive political figure like Nyesom Wike. However, we should also not spread the blame to all of them. How can they have a House of Assembly that does not seem to exercise its independence? Why? It's a breach of trust. It's a failure on the part of those men who represent the various tribes, the various local governments in Rivers State. They should be ashamed that they cannot appear to the Nigerian people that whatever they are doing is based on their own reasoning, or is based on their own volition, or based on the interest of the Rivers people. But to think that somehow they are desperate, or they are being tied to the strings of one particular political figure is a big shame. It's a dent on our democracy. It's something that we must stop. So the president should wash off his hands. Let us be a country that grows on precedent. We need to test our democracy, and this Rivers case should be allowed on. If these men think that there is gross misconduct indeed, allow them to go on. And again, don't forget, because the respected Professor Amadi here has said that the chief judge has the capacity to save for Governor Fubara. That is not this point. That cannot be possibly correct altogether. The reason is that the seven men men or women that he will appoint must not be members of a political party, must not be public servants, whether serving or retired, but must be ordinary men, but simply be men of integrity. He is quite correct. Right, these men, whatever they say, ultimately will determine the fate of
Mr. Tete. With due respect, if you can hear me,
to have his course in
Mr.
State, and let us be watching. And there's some independence.
Can you hear me?
Operate as a federating part of Nigeria and not an appendage of the APC president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Mr. Tete, you didn't answer the question. You pivoted. I get it. You don't want to take any sides, but the question was clear. Who do you want the balance of power to tilt to? But it's fine. You have a right to do that. It's fine. You have a right to pivot. Thank you. I can appreciate you. Yeah.
Do appreciate that he did make a strong case for separation of powers in this instance. Well, it's time for a short break now. When we return, the action from Morocco continues as Aaron Akerejola will be here with Global Sports Update. Do stay with us.
Right, welcome back to the Morning Show right here on the Rising channel. We'll go to Aaron for sports updates out there in Morocco. Marrakesh, I should think. Aaron, good morning. Aaron, good morning. Good morning, Marrakesh. Okay, we'll go for a quick break. We'll come back. We'll tap on Aaron again. All right, so we go straight to it again. Aaron Akerejola joining us from Marrakesh. Aaron, good morning.
Imagine your wallet can be everything. Well, almost everything your bank is to you. That's exactly what First Money Wallet is. First Money Wallet from First Bank is another swift and seamless way to bank from your mobile phone. It doesn't matter if you have a First Bank account or not, nor the mobile network you use. Everyone can open a First Money Wallet, and it's very easy. Your phone number is your account number. With First Money Wallet, you can send money using just a phone number, receive money, pay bills, buy airtime and data for yourself or someone else, and check balance. You don't need a bank account at all or BVN to enjoy the boundless possibilities First Money Wallet offers. All you need is a registered phone number, and you can fund your wallet easily through your First Bank account or any bank account and debit card. What's more, First Money Wallet is highly secure with fingerprint technology and PIN. And when you need cash, just walk up to any First Money agent near you to withdraw money. No smartphone, no wahala. Just dial *894*1# on any phone. So it doesn't matter if you live in the city or the remotest part of the country. With First Money Wallet, your transactions are easy, seamless, and secure. Download the First Money Wallet app now. Input your phone number and follow the prompts, or simply dial *894*1#. All money now on First Money. You first. First Bank.
As far as your eyes can see, you can own it. Built on integrity, surrounded by nature, a place where you feel alive. With golf course, amusement park, artificial lake, sports centers, residential and commercial spaces. Be among the first to invest for greater returns and a new lifestyle. Utu exclusive. Live, play, relax. Invest today.
Buying your Airpiece ticket just got easier with Fidelity Bank. When you book on flyairpiece.com, choose Fidelity payment options and complete your payment effortlessly. With Fidelity Bank, you can pay with transfer, fast, secure, and powered by Fidelity. Buy now, pay later, enjoy flexible payments, and travel stress-free. Book on hold. Lock in your travel plans and pay when you're ready. Whichever you choose, every transaction is quick, seamless, and protected. No stress, no hassle. Just smooth payments every time. Because with Fidelity Bank, flying Airpiece isn't just about getting there, it's about getting there with ease. Fly Airpiece. Pay the Fidelity way. Simple, safe, convenient. Visit flyairpiece.com to get started.
We are Fidelity. We keep our word.
Feel free to imagine a world with no boundaries. Just you and your dreams, running wild and free. Oh no, life can be easy. Smooth connection with the correct. Smooth connection with the correct.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Joining us now with stories trending around the world on a Friday is Anieze Osakwe. Annie, good to see you.
Yes, good to see you. So glad it's Friday. It's been a week, but we're here. We made it. Good morning, Dr. Abati.
TGIF. Good morning, Annie. How are you?
TGIF. I'm well, thank you. Rufai, how's it going? Good to have you back.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Good. All right. Happy Friday to everyone out there. Good morning. And thank you all for starting your day with us. So we begin what's trending with the fallout, the reactions, the commentary, all coming out of River State after the State House of Assembly, believed to be loyal to FCT Minister Nyesom Wike, made that major decision just about 24 hours ago on live TV, no less, to start the impeachment process against Governor Siminalayi Fubara and his deputy, Ngozi Odu. Now, plenary was overseen by the Speaker of the State House, Martins Amaewule, while Major Jack laid out the allegations of gross misconduct. Let's take a look.
Mr. Speaker, we conclude by stating that the governor has shown that he is not prepared to govern River State in line with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999 as amended, and his oath of office. The Supreme Court, in suit number SC/CV/1174/2004, condemned his actions when he stated that the 8th responder fear of impeachment by the River State House of Assembly is no justification for his attack on the House of Assembly, the Constitution, the government of River State, and the rule of law. Political disagreement cannot justify this attack and contempt for the rule of law by the governor of River State.
And while 26 members of the State House did sign the notice backing this impeachment, within hours, a number of groups pushed back. The Campaign for Democracy, the Ijaw National Congress, as well as the River State chapter of the APC, publicly rejecting the impeachment altogether. Now, in a statement signed by the party's spokesperson, Darlington Nwauju, he says in part, and I'll read from the statement, "It would be totally untenable for a party to keep quiet when an obvious hangover from strifes within the PDP are allowed to resurface. Therefore, we strongly advise all members of the House of Assembly, especially APC members, to resist pressures to destabilize the government of Rivers State, ably led by His Excellency Sir Fubara. We call on members to immediately discontinue the impeachment process in order not to drag the image of our great party to the mud and stifle the continuous progress of the state. Let our state remain a democracy and not a politicocracy." And I'll take one reaction before coming to you, Dr. Abati. Jonathan says, "Nigerian politicians are painful to watch. Not entertaining, not dramatic, painful. A country as large, populous, and strategically important as Nigeria is busy playing small, stupid games, while the rest of the world hardens its borders, stockpiles power, and quietly prepares for conflict. This is a dangerous historical moment, and Nigeria is wasting it. But none of this is normal. It's not normal for public office to function as a private war chest. It's not normal for a state to be rich and its people perpetually poor. And it's not normal for a country of this size and importance to drift while the world rearranges itself. This is not politics as usual. It's a slow collective failure, and pretending otherwise is part of the problem." So Dr. Abati, like I said, I'll come to you on this because it was just about 24 hours when we were sitting here that this news broke. We're now 24 hours past. We've heard what people have to say. How do you think the people of Rivers should be seeing this? What do you anticipate to potentially hear from the president? And how should the country be feeling right now?
Okay, there are two sides to the issue, as we have discussed with commentators on this subject, and also the APC spokesperson in Rivers State, Darlington Nwauju. The political side of it, and I think you prefaced that in your introduction, by saying that this has something to do with the self-appointed, self-styled godfather of Rivers State politics, namely the FCT minister, Nyesom Wike, who has said Fubara, who is now of the APC, cannot be the 001 of Rivers State APC politics. And that, in fact, he will not be allowed to have a second term. So what's that popular folk saying? That the witch cried yesterday, and the baby died this morning. That's exactly the kind of folkloric situation that you have now had in Rivers State, with the Rivers State House of Assembly that is said to be loyal to Nyesom Wike, now saying, oh, we have commenced impeachment proceedings. The second part of it about politics is that Nyesom Wike says, well, he was the one who made Fubara governor of the state, along with some other people, and that if they don't listen to him, they cannot move forward. 3, he even went as far as saying that Rivers State is a no-go area, that anybody that tries to get involved in Rivers State politics without his approval will face issues. So that's the political side of it. But Darlington Nwaju, whom we interviewed this morning, said the Wike that is talking is not even a member of the ruling APC, either in Rivers or at the federal level. And that as far as he is concerned, Wike is totally irrelevant because he cannot be dictating to a party where he's not a member. So that political side, however, he says they will sort it out because APC, either locally or federally, does not agree that Fubara, who is now a member of their party, should be impeached. And this is the 3rd time that is happening. The irony, however, is that the members of the House of Assembly now are members of the APC. The governor himself is, as his own supporters have said, the 001 of APC politics in Rivers. So there is confusion. And that's why I talked earlier on about an imminent blowout. You talked about the people of Rivers State. As has been the case before now, it is the people of Rivers State who are holding the short end of the stick. Because what we're hearing about is the ego of gladiators and not the interest of the people of Rivers State. And that's why I think that this is an opportunity for those who are interested in stability of Rivers State and the interests of the people. There seems to be an opportunity for them to offer the people of Rivers State an alternative beyond the shenanigans of APC politicians and their hired contractor, mercenary, who says he determines what happens in Rivers State. Now, 3, there's now the legal process, because to remove a governor from office is a constitutional process, well defined under Section 188. Now, they've started following the process. You serve notice, 1/3 of the House of Assembly, they got that. You give 14 days for the governor to respond, because he also has that privilege. Then if the House now comes together after that response and then determines that, a prima facie case for removal from office has been established, then 2/3 of the House must vote. Now, of course, you know that they will easily cross that hurdle. Then a 7-day notice will be given for the chief judge to constitute an investigative panel and for the governor to respond directly or through his representatives. But the catch there is that if he is found guilty of gross misconduct under Section 188 sub 11, it can be summarily removed, because the Constitution says what constitutes gross misconduct is the opinion of the House of Assembly. If they don't follow that process, then they will have the Ladoja situation of 2016, where that process was not followed, and the Court of Appeal sitting in Ibadan and the Supreme Court then said that the removal of Governor Ladoja, as he then was null and void. But the long-term thing is that as we move towards 2027, the fear is that there could be chaos, there could be confusion, which already exists in Rivers State. Final point is that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu intervened the other time. That was before the declaration of a state of emergency. Perhaps the president himself needs to intervene again, because he cannot afford to have a wide Port Harcourt, a wide Rivers State. based on the kind of lessons we have had from history when politicians go must. Okay, it's the cows that go must, but we can use that metaphor.
Yes, and
in
to
this
your point,
instance.
Dr. Abati, about the people in River State, because as we speak about FCT Minister Nyesom Wike, the River State and the people of River State, there's a new video of the minister visiting the home of Senator George Thompson Sekibo in Ogu Town, River State. It's been trending on social media this week because during this visit, which happened on Monday, Wike enthusiastically commends the senator who represents Rivers East on the sheer grandeur of this country house. Let's take a look.
Correct.
And Rufai, I'll come to you on this because this video has sparked mixed reactions on social media. Of course, you know, people are entitled to build and live in the homes that they want, but this is also a stark reminder of the gulf of wealth when it comes to wealth disparity in this country. Earlier this week, we were talking about how a court had ordered the forfeiture of 57 properties linked to the ex-Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami. But those images of that house, I mean, people have been talking about this house.
In fact, the house that will make Wike say, look, I can't see you. And that's the hope of a senator in a river state where you have very high unemployment numbers, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's Nigeria for you. So going back to my points, I think it was Michel Foucault. I put a finger on it. It says for a democracy to work, you must have three axes. Axis of knowledge, axis of power, axis of ethics. In democracies that work, you have an axis of knowledge. And that's why the first thing dictators do is they destroy the axis of knowledge. You can see what Trump was doing today, removing America from some scientific international organizations so that science cannot play a role, getting a conspiracy theorist to be in charge of drugs and all of that, downplaying science, downplaying investment in science. So the first thing they do is they destroy the axis of knowledge because they know the axis of knowledge will challenge the status quo. The next thing they'll do is they will destroy the axis of ethics. That's the courts. That's the relation. That's, societal ethics. That's what democracy is supposed to be about. Mm-hmm. That's accountability. That's also media. So they will go after the media, destroy the media, infiltrate the media, buy the media. That's why Trump was trying to push the Paramount deal, all right, so that his friends can have the media, so he's close to them. Then most importantly, the axis of power, which they used to perpetuate themselves. So they buy those that have to do with the axis of ethics and axis of knowledge. They buy the judiciary, they buy everything to themselves and all of that. So in our political space, what only remains is the axis of power. Mm-hmm. That's why any Tom, Dick, and Harry wants to go into politics and get power for themselves. And what would they use the power to do? Outlandish buildings like these, lovely buildings and things like that. And that's why when some arguments were being made, I think it was Mr. Frank Tete that was making the argument and trying to balance. I just said he was being idealistic because the axis of ethics and the axis of knowledge is already gone from our politics. It's because the only axis of power is remaining. That's why you can see Fubara and Wike going after it. And that's why, coming back to the first story you brought, my solution to the process will be, is actually ensuring that one of these two participants, the axis of power is taken away for them. Mm-hmm. That's why you can only have a resolution. If that is not done, the matter will continue. In a society that is working, that is idealistic, you will not even have a crisis like this because the axis of ethics will have nullified this fight. Mm-hmm. Because you have people that ethically stand, but that doesn't exist in Nigeria. And the axis of knowledge
You even be so ashamed to be able to do this godfatherism fight because the access of knowledge will have nullified, and that's what institutional memory will have told you that what you're doing is wrong.
Right.
So in a society where there's access of power, you know what happens? Show of wealth by politicians while the people suffer. Inequality gap. Although I like to say inequality cautiously, because when you calculate the Gini coefficient of Nigeria, it's still it's not as bad as we think it is. And that's why I have a high population. I think that those are the things I have with Corredo Gini. So those are the factors. And it just shows that it's a country where the access of power reigns supreme. So don't be surprised. Rivers has a high level of unemployment rate, but you can see what's happening there.
Yes.
Very, very quick comment. There's a story, a short story, a tough story. It's titled, How Much Land Does a Man Need? And that story, by way of summary, a Tolstoy, Russian writer, novelist, is simply that, look, human greed should have limits. The people are so greedy, they are perpetually consuming in a conspicuous manner. So I joined Wike in looking at Senator Thompson Sekibo's mansion. And I say, make una come see you. Because the building is so conspicuous. But human beings, those who understand how these things work will say, no matter how extravagant you may be, you cannot sleep on 2 beds.
Right.
If you sleep on 2 beds, people will start wondering what is going on. You can't sleep in 2 houses. You cannot sleep in 2 rooms at the same time. Even if you say, oh, I'm the owner of this mansion, you keep going from one room to the other. In fact, your wife will start calling your family members. At the end of the day, if you die, it is 6 feet for everybody, no matter how extravagant you have been. So that's just the moral part of it. The second part of it is that, look, when you build all these big mansions, maintenance is always the problem. Many people build big houses in the village. Some of them are just building graveyards because they will never even have the time to go there. Right. Finally, as for this Senator Sekibo, I think questions should be asked. What is the business that he does? I don't think he will have that mansion just because he was Senator of the Federal Republic.
Right.
That would be a serious question. Number 2, how much tax has he paid? If you calculate it, is he paying tax? Because the whole idea of taxation now is to take from the rich and support the poor and make this country better for all of us. Yeah. How much has he given back to society in terms of philanthropy, which we say is very important? So these are some of the questions that should be asked. Otherwise, well, there will be many Nigerians who will not be impressed and say, so what? So what? Absolutely. Are you going to sleep in 2 rooms or sleep on 2 beds at the same time? So those whose palm kernels have been clapped for them by benevolent gods should learn to be humble. That's Chinua Achebe from Things Fall Apart.
Very, very key questions. And from there, let's take our next story from Abuja, where a video has been circulating on social media and has sparked mixed reactions because it shows a herd of cows casually strolling in front of the World Trade Center complex there. Now, that building, which is a skyscraper, is comprised of offices, luxury apartments, and more. And in this video, a man calls the cows movement in Nigeria's capital a shame to the nation while begging FCT Minister Wike to intervene. Let's watch.
The whole World Trade Center. See, cows are moving around. Wike, you have to do something about this. What is happening? World Trade Center and cows are moving around. This is a shame. This is a shame to Nigeria.
Now, I'll just take one quick reaction from Skill, who says, it's good you all want to trend. Abuja was a Fulani community before IBB decided to turn it into the federal capital. He didn't end open grazing before doing so. It's the reason why you'll always see cows in Abuja. Another person, Sheyi, said, nothing says World Trade Center Abuja like a free-range cattle parade on the pavement. Truly living the dream in Africa's giant, where cows have more right of way than cars. Modern Nigeria at its finest. And I'll take our next story because As we talk about our roads and what's going on in the public domain, a new video also surfaced on social media on Thursday evening from Lagos, which features two men as they come up to a driver in Lagos traffic, harass him, then proceed to rip his side mirror off of the car. And we'll play the video for you in a moment because the driver records the entire incident. He sees the men, they bang his window, they bang his mirror as well before then removing it from the car. And in his caption on social media, he says they ran away when they saw him recording. But, you know, a lot of the comments on social media have to do with wondering where federal road safety corps are in moments like this, especially since clearly it happened in broad daylight. Now, Vimbai, I'll come to you on both of those stories. Abuja, cows just walking in front of the World Trade Center in the Central Business District. And then Lagos just having this brazen theft of someone's window. I mean, how should we be seeing these two stories?
I mean, goodness, let's start with the cattle, because this is a contentious issue that continues to resurface in various platforms. If you see the debate around it in the Senate, for example, you realize how passionate people get about the rights of cows and the freedom of movement of cows in and around Nigeria. If you look at it from a foundational place, you understand that, okay, there are issues such as climate change. Some extremists will go as far as saying that this is the Fulanization, the herders that are overrunning the nation and have filtered as far down as Southwest and even Southeast, even South-South. In fact, you hear stories about herders, who are armed with their weapons and so forth. Now, to make an important distinction, not all herders are Fulani and not all herders are militant in nature. However, when we see many of the crimes that have been perpetuated, especially on farms in rural areas, it's usually we see a lot of, let me not say usually, that's the wrong word. We see a lot of crimes perpetuated by gun-wielding herders. Now, the conversation around ranching and so forth, in this instance, people are appealing to the Minister of FCT. Today, I disagree. This is not his purview. We have a Ministry of Livestock. The Ministry of Livestock was created specifically because we have these persistent run-ins between cattle herders and farmers and various members of society. And the idea was that, okay, as controversial as it is, it's time for us to evolve into ranching. But at the development of that ministry, when they did their findings, it was led by Professor Mahmoud Jega, who is now going into diplomatic service, former chairman of INEC. The findings were that it would take them a decade. They said they need 10 years for Nigeria to transition into ranching, which sounds absolutely shocking, especially given that this is one of the prerogatives that was listed. When Donald Trump decided to pay attention to Nigeria and insecurity, we realized that if we're to create ranching, we can at least solve one problem. Let's stop associating herders with the criminality and banditry and terrorism and so forth. Let's know who the genuine ones are and the ones who are not. But again, this always faces pushback because, like I said, there are those who advocate for the rights of cows in this country. And there are those who feel that cows should have just as much right of free movement across Nigeria as human beings. And this is what we now find ourselves. The capital city of the giant of Africa being overrun by cows. It's unfortunate, and I hope at some point common sense will prevail. These cows will be a lot healthier and will catch a much higher profit if they're in a well-established ranch where they have access to all the grass and so forth. As for the insecurity on the roads, I remember Lagos went through, the video is from Lagos State, right? Lagos went through a phase where there was a lot of crime, and then it was wiped out, I believe under the Fashola administration. A lot of this was wiped out. Now, it's unfortunate that given the economic pressures that are faced not just in Lagos, across the whole nation, we're seeing the resurgence of petty crime, all these kinds of thugs, all this. This is a sign of a breakdown in society. Yeah. This is a sign of an increase in poverty. Yes, All societies have criminals of this nature. But I'm just saying the resurgence of some of these crimes. I used to live in Johannesburg, and I feel so much safer in Lagos than I do in Johannesburg. Johannesburg, you can't even drive with your handbag in your car. You have to put it in the boot. And I loved that when I moved to Lagos, you could drive very freely and not worry about these things. Now, for us to start to, degenerate to a place where potentially we now have to sort of clutch our pearls when we're driving is unfortunate. And it has been on, and special attention needs to be paid to
your
it.
window?
Yes. In fact, that day, thank God I had money with me. I just had to hand them out money. So I've been robbed like that. It's what's happened in Lagos. But I know where it happened. It's around that CAC church, when you're just, I think before you start to go straight to, that CAC church around that, what's it called? After, when you leave Olushosu, the dump site, and you drive forward a bit.
Okay.
Yeah,
On the mainland.
So there's normally a traffic build-up around there. And constantly those boys will come out there, harass you in traffic. And that's sometimes I normally have cash. But what's the solution? You see, across that path, where you see there's bush or something there, just deploy police officers there.
Mm-hmm. And he said that there was a police station close to
No,
that
it's not
area.
about police station. We're saying deploy police officers to patrol. Not FRSC. No, okay. These are criminals, but it's not a traffic crime. These are real thieves. Those boys, they have knives. The boys that came with it, they had knives. But this boy just wanted to pick up something. And that's why, because they couldn't do anything. Yeah. That's why they took his side mirror. Mm-hmm. So what you do, deploy police around there so that when they strike, people can alert. So that's it. It's been happening there for so many years. I've been robbed. Like, you have to have money with you in the car to be able to give out to them.
Absolutely.
Okay, one small comment. Earlier on, I was saying when cows go must. It's actually elephants that go must. Shooting an elephant, George Orwell. I remember now. So, but in this particular case of cows, I didn't even know you were going to bring this story about cows. Did you notice that cows were walking in front of the World Trade Center? You people have been saying on this same table that, herders, cattle herders are businessmen. Is it not possible that they have an engagement at the World Trade Center for sale? The location is quite appropriate.
We are an agric-based economy. And it doesn't mean say Nigeria happened that they will say no.
This is World Trade Center.
This is World Trade Center. So please, the cows have rights. In fact, I think what they should do, Dr. Abati.
They are going to the market.
Dr. Abati,
the World Trade Center.
Is this the only one you saw? Was there not a picture of cows being sold in front of a bank? Here in Lagos. So that one too was there. So please, let's encourage more cows on the roads in Abuja because they should take over the roads.
For the people who are complaining and all
why
that,
should they complain?
That cows are. These are senior citizens of the
Federal Republic of Nigeria.
These are senior citizens. Because when you see cows on the road, you park. You allow them to.
You respect them. That's just what you do.
Yes.
Please go ahead.
Yes, and let's. Now, we've been talking a lot about transport, but now let's head to Ekiti State briefly, where there's another video trending on social media of the Nollywood filmmaker Bolaji Ogumola, who calls out United Nigeria Airlines for leaving her stranded at the airport in Ekiti for over 24 hours. Now, in a video posted on her Instagram page from the airport on Thursday, she shares that she had to miss her first day on set in Lagos after her flight was delayed all day, then canceled. She then says she used her own money to pay for a motel, hoping the flight would take off the next morning, but it was pushed again from 9 till 12 p.m., then 5:30 p.m., and it still didn't take off. Let's watch.
It's not only my time that these people are toying with, it's actually my source of livelihood as well. I'm literally stuck. I'm literally outside. And there is no reason why that is happening. There is no reason, there's no conversation, there is no, everybody says sorry to me. What am I supposed to do? I'm literally stuck here. I'm not going to shout, I'm not going to fight. I have to go by road, which is very unsafe, but I need to get to work. So I'm going to go, and my lawyers will take this up. I just wanted to have, I just needed to have I just need to have evidence of what.
Now, in a statement posted on their X profile yesterday, United Nigeria Airlines apologized, saying that the flight was disrupted due to unscheduled aircraft maintenance, and that communication was sent to passengers via email and text. But surely one would think that there should be some sort of guardrails or compensation for passengers if delayed. But let's now move on to milestones, where today we're celebrating the 61st birthday of the former group CEO of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company, Mele Kyari, as someone who embodies decades of experience and expertise in Nigeria's oil and gas industry. Now, born January 9, Kyari received his bachelor's degree in geology and earth science from the University of Maiduguri, before then beginning a career as a field geologist with the Department of Geological Survey of Nigeria. In 1991, he joined the NNPC, and by 2007, Kyari was made to lead the production sharing contracts management in the crude oil marketing division. He worked a series of roles within the organization, and in 2018, he stepped into the critical role of becoming Nigeria's national representative at OPEC. But it was the following year, in 2019, under President Muhammadu Buhari's administration, that he was made Group Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, a role he held up until last year. And Kyari has often, recounted his journey from humble beginnings to ultimately lead Africa's largest national oil company and what it took for him to get there. So from all of us at Arise News, we wish Mele Kyari a very happy birthday. And now more under milestones, because we're also celebrating the 48th birthday of Zak Adedeji, the chairman of Nigeria's Revenue Service, a man President Bola Tinubu saluted for his charismatic dedication to restructuring, aligning, and managing the revenue profile of the entire country. Now, born in Oyo State on the 8th of January, he received his Bachelor of Science from Obafemi Awolowo University, where he obtained a first-class degree in accounting. Adedeji previously served as a senior member of Procter & Gamble's management team, as Commissioner of Finance for Oyo State when he was just 33 years old, as well as Executive Secretary of the National Sugar Development Council. Now, Adedeji also worked as the special advisor to the president on revenue before being appointed as chairman of Nigeria's Revenue Service in September of 2023. And in a statement posted yesterday, the president commended him for his leadership of the 83-year-old revenue agency, emphasizing how he's brought in fresh ideas, global best practices, and the upskilling of the company's staff. So from all of us at Arise, we also wish Zak Adedeji a very happy birthday. 2 birthdays on a Friday. Happy birthday to both of them. Absolutely.
Sorry, before you move on, I have
Yes.
to correct myself. In referring to the former INEC chairman, Jega, I'm confused him for Yakubu, who is going into diplomatic service. Jega is not going into diplomatic service. I just want to clarify that point.
Thank you for that. Very key, very key. Thank you, Mumbai.
Thank you very much, Annie.
Thank you.
And have a very great weekend. You want to say something?
Super Eagles, please go and beat Algeria for us.
Well, pay their bonuses and allowances first.
Yes.
Because Wilfred Ndidi is saying if the federal government of Nigeria does not deliver, he will pay from his own pocket. We shouldn't have that kind of ridiculous situation.
And don't worry, you should pay. Let's beat Algeria first. We'll sort that later.
Anyway, and that's all. We hope Nigeria wins tomorrow. That's all on today's edition of the Morning Show. Rotu Sodiri is up next with Global Business Report, and he'll be speaking to Abimbola Gbenjo, ESG